Hello, this is Cho, the Shiny Colors Discord, and welcome back to the Shiny Review. It's been a little bit, hasn't it? So, I'm going to go ahead and put a timestamp here to get to the actual review, because there are some things I want to talk about before we get started. First off, it's been a pretty long time. I wanted to take a break because I hadn't really felt too great about Shiny in the last couple of months, and I kind of just hit a breaking point where I realized that I needed some time off, just to really kind of refresh myself on things. And while Shiny hasn't completely 180'd, they're doing a tiny little bit better. So that's why I'm back. As for the reviews, if I think the banner is interesting, or the card on the banner has something worth talking about, then a video will happen. If not, those that have been paying attention have noticed I've been posting a lot more on the community page when it comes to banners. That is going to be the new alternative if I don't really have a whole lot to say about the banner to make a video. There's been a lot of them over the last couple of years where I go, man, I just don't really want to talk about this, but I kind of feel obligated to. And thankfully, the community tab is a good way for me to kind of circumvent making a video for it, while still getting my thoughts out there, if that makes sense. So, if you've missed out on videos in the last month or so, that's where those are. They're just hiding there as text posts. As for the reviews themselves, I'm going to be cutting out event cards under the same logic. Most event cards are pretty awful and don't do a whole lot. If they have something cool worth talking about, I'll bring it up at the end of the video. But otherwise, it's just going to focus on the gacha cards, and again, it'll be whatever cards I think have something that are worth talking about or I think are cool. Like Juri has something cool that I'll talk about. So, we're just going to have to see how that goes. So, please bear with me. That's kind of just how I want to approach things going forward. With that, let's go ahead and get started by talking about Juri and Mamimi. Starting things off, we have Juri. Hokura's start to SSR8 begins with Juri giving us Shiny's take on a magical school. She's a visual unit, effectively replacing Juri 4 for all intents and purposes, and is doing her best to redefine Hokura, especially visual Hokura, as a fast-acting team once more. She can AoE appeal on Link, but the big draw is she's the first unit who applies 2 instances of Duet within Hokura on 1 appeal, potentially opening up turn 3 memory appeals with decent luck. Most Hokura teams have just been relying on turn 4 by utilizing something like a Gyudon Rinzai or a Christmas Juri. This is the first real chance they have of turn 3 without asking for a very weird setup. Her passives for the most part are consistent and strong enough, though you won't see the drastic power spike until 4-star like always. With her memory appeal, she's designed incredibly similarly to Kaho 7, meaning you can get away with her being memory level 3 for the sake of playing her as a center. Except this time she actually raises attention instead of lowering it, which plays to her strengths, as opposed to making it way harder to use her. I don't know why they did that to Kaho 7, maybe they were afraid of a 6.5, but this I think is the better solution. Duet being random can still hurt with the wrong draws, but it's something you can maybe reasonably work through. Her roles are Duet, memory gauge booster, she has attention up, she can attack all conditionally, and she's maybe a center. I moderately to highly recommend pulling for this Juri. If visual is your thing, or visual Hokura is something you want to try, then having this Juri feels pretty necessary. Juri's initial skill is a visual 3.0 appeal that raises your attention by 30% for 4 turns, that links into a visual 1.8 appeal to all judges, and the base appeal applies that double duet to Hokura. Remember, this means that it has to be members on your team, so you can't just magically pull appeals from characters that are not on your unit. So ideally, you have to be running all of Hokura to make the most of this duet. The max version of this skill is a visual 4.5 appeal that raises your attention by 50% for 4 turns, applies that double duet, and links into the same visual 1.8 appeal to all judges. Her memory appeal stays the same between level 3 and level 5, which is an attention 100% buff for 3 turns that links into a visual maximum 6.5 appeal that scales based on how high your attention is. As for the passives, Juri's 1-star passive is a visual 50% up as long as Juri is on your team, has a 30% chance to activate 3 times. Her 2-star passive is a visual 75% up and memory gauge 15% up that requires the full Hokura lineup. This has a 30% chance to activate once, and also comes with a visual plus 50 uncap. Her 3-star uncap is a visual plus 150, and her 4-star passive is a visual 120% up that requires 1 or more active attention up buffs. This has a 20% chance to activate twice, and this comes with a combined visual mental plus 100 uncap. For the support recommendations, the MVP of course is Twilight's Collection Kaho, a ridiculously strong visual support that has all of the attention you'd ever want for Hokura, has the ability to duet into Kaho, and makes Juri even more consistent depending on who Juri pulls on her initial appeal. If you're just looking for visual supports, cards like Mikoto, Mei, Amona, Chiyuki, and Mamimi are good choices. One positive about the last few months is that plenty of visual supports have come out to improve the pool of available units. Chiyuki, paired with Amona, should prove to be very effective. Otherwise, just keep an eye out for visual units you come across and see if they have passives that are worth playing on a team like Hokura. Remember, they want to play fast and they want to play aggressive. On the other side of things, attention is a fantastic stat to invest into when possible, and Hokura are no exception to the statement, especially when you consider that Juri's memory appeal scales on this, and I imagine more visual units are going to be scaling on attention for visual Hokura going forward. Outside of their MVP, the recent Strawberry Natsuha is a great inclusion to the team. Absolutely be on the lookout for future visual Hokura supports as we continue on, as it's clear they want to focus the team in that direction, so keep an eye out for more of those supports. No team for now, but just understand that Choco 7 and Juri 8 are a great combo alongside Twilight's Collection Kaho. They need a little bit more to be a real team, but that is a core for now. As a center, A+ to S. A 6.5 memory appeal is absolutely nothing to sneeze at, but it might not be the easiest to set up when you consider you still have to appeal with other members of your team to get the end result. Without them, just a simple attention up is nothing at all, and is obviously not really worth using if you're not aiming for that link appeal. If visual Hokura continues to see more relevant duet units, then you're in the money for the center without compromising too much. As a unit, I'd actually say she's somewhere between B+ to an A+. Solid. Depending on your luck, Juri is either going to feel incredibly inconsistent or a godsend for your Hokura setups, and it all completely relies on her ability to double duet, which at worst could give you two of exactly the same character, or the exact perfect setup for turn 3 memory appeal. I have no doubt that visual Hokura will prefer this Juri over Juri 4, but time will tell if the unit as a whole ages particularly well. We're just going to have to see how well they treat visual Hokura. Next up we have Mamimi. Here we are once again with an Antika support that ultimately does more for any other unit than Antika. Mamimi's big claim to fame in this case is that her passive requires you to have over 4,500 mental for it to activate, a stat that is typically ignored entirely with Antika outside of the dance builds that ask to be more around 3,400, or the canon builds that don't even want to be building mental in the first place. 4,500 mental is more in line with teams like Alstromeria or even Nocchill depending on how they build. Outside of this, Mamimi offers a lot of stat gain and generally good stuff for Vocal, just not good stuff for the unit that needs it most, in other words, her own. Her support skills are Idol's Bond, Promise Recovery, and Rest Boost, and she has 4 unique support skills. Vocal Mastery Mental, reaching plus 15 at level 80, Vocal Mastery SP, reaching plus 12 at level 80, Unit Mastery Vocal, reaching plus 8 at 70, and Vocal Mastery Stamina, reaching plus 6 at 75. Her TFD idea is Mental, her Insight Token for Grad is Visual, and her proficiency in Landing Point is in Mental. Mamimi's initial appeal is a Vocal 2.8 that ignores interest and applies interest reverse for 2 turns, that also lowers your attention by 15% for 4 turns. Keep in mind that that appeal does not influence the judges at all, so the interest reverse effectively does nothing unless somebody else puts interest on that judge. At 1 stars, Mamimi unlocks a Vocal 50% passive that requires their turn count to be 3 or earlier and has a 20% chance to activate twice. This comes with a mental plus 50 uncap as well. Her 2-star unlock is a Vocal 100% passive that requires your maximum mental to be 4,500 or higher, and has a 30% chance to activate twice. Her 3-star unlock is a Vocal plus 100 uncap, and the 4-star appeal is a Vocal 4.0 that ignores interest, raises the judge's interest by 20% for 2 turns, applies interest reverse for 2 turns, and lowers your attention by 30% for 4 turns, and even unlocks a Vocal plus 50 uncap. All that said, Mamimi gets an A to an A+. This Mamimi is kind of frustrating, despite what the score above says. While both of her passives are incredibly good for the teams that can use her, she more or less does nothing for Antika currently. It's also worth mentioning that both of her unlockable appeals do nothing at all, as 20% interest reverse accomplishes nothing unless it's stacked by the AI, and there's no burst phase to it like Daikichi, where it reverses for less turns than the interest is raised, which means there are moments where you actually can do a ton of damage once Daikichi technically wears off. So there's no way to take advantage of the stalling effect that Mamimi applies. Unlike the Vocal Sakuya that we got earlier this year, I think this Mamimi is kind of worse for Antika and is better for Alstro overall. I moderately recommend pulling for Mamimi. If you are building Vocal Alstromeria, she seems like a really good pickup. If you're just building general Vocal, she also seems pretty good. If you're building Antika, maybe just get her for the story than anything else. Otherwise, just don't really worry about it too much. Now, that will do it for the video today. Thank you so much, as always, for watching and supporting the channel in any way you can. If you haven't subbed, make sure to do so that way you get notified about the community tab stuff if I happen to not make a video about a banner for that week. Otherwise, I will see you in the next Shiny review, whenever that may be. Let's look forward to whatever cards those are. I've been Cho, thanks for watching, have a wonderful rest of your day.